How disgraceful! Thoughtless words hurled at my husband, who, for reasons, lives in a wheelchair. These words, spoken loud enough for everyone around to hear, also reached my husband's ears. Yet he gazes forward with a strong, unwavering look. This must be because he takes pride in the life he's led so far. His actions would later lead to a miraculous encounter. My name is Haley Warner. I'm a regular housewife who turned 33 this year. Now, I have a normal family, but until I graduated from high school, I lived in an institution with my younger sister, Anna. We lost our parents when we were young, and with no relatives to take us in, my sister and I had no choice but to be placed there. But life in the orphanage wasn't as poor or bleak as most imagine. It wasn't all that bad. We were often the subject of curious glances, but otherwise, it felt like a lively school dormitory. Initially, after our parents' death, both Anna and I tended to be withdrawn, but thanks to the support of the other children and the staff at the institution, we were able to recover. When I told most people that I came from an orphanage, they'd step back and gradually become distant. However, there are those who treat me the same as always, right from the moment we meet. One of them is my husband, Kyle. Kyle and I have been married for 5 years now, but we've known each other since high school, so it feels like we've been together for a very long time. Kyle, my husband, has also led an uneventful life, and I'd like to share a bit of his story. Kyle was dedicated to soccer from childhood up until high school. It wasn't just a hobby. He was genuinely striving for greatness and worked incredibly hard. By the time he reached high school, he was already very skilled, to the point where people thought he could go professional. From early mornings to late nights after school, he spent endless hours training. But for soccer-loving Kyle, this hard work was never a burden. Meanwhile, I hadn't found my future dream and was just drifting through each day. That's how most high school students probably feel. But seeing Kyle so dedicated to do something made me admire him. Then one day, tragedy struck. A shadow was cast over Kyle's bright days. On his way back from a soccer practice match, he saw a boy about to be hit by a car running a red light at a crosswalk. Kyle instinctively moved to save the boy, and thankfully, the boy only suffered a minor scratch. However, Kyle, who took the boy's place, suffered a major injury that resulted in the amputation of his right leg. It was the moment his soccer career was cut short. The future he was about to grasp was suddenly shrouded in darkness. Watching Kyle grieve, feeling that all his talent and hard work had gone to waste, was heart-wrenching. Even though his body was as robust as an adult's, his heart was still that of a child on the verge of maturity. It's understandable that one might struggle to come to terms with reality. After all, they had been so engrossed and had worked so hard. Kyle had become so indifferent to everything, even neglecting meals and confining himself. Having been in a relationship with Kyle since those times, I visited his family home almost daily to be there for him. All I could do was be with him, but with a determination to support Kyle, I learned massage techniques and accompanied him during his rehabilitation. Once Kyle asked me, "Why does Haley treat me the same way after the accident?" The reason is clear. It's because Kyle is Kyle. He would help others even if it meant putting himself in danger, and never blamed anyone. Even when downcast, He always tried to move forward, looking towards the future. When I conveyed these feelings, Kyle squeezed my hand with a wrinkled face and whispered, "I've been able to live because of Haley. I want to live with you, despite my condition. Thank you." Since then, Kyle has enthusiastically attended rehabilitation and has fervently caught up with his studies that were delayed due to his hospitalization. We successfully graduated from high school together, attended the same college, and now, as working adults, he's completely regained his vibrant character from before the accident and lives looking ahead. I've seen him struggle, but I genuinely believe he's strong. Although he had some difficulty finding a job due to his physical condition, he now works diligently as a cleaner. Although there are things he can't do because of his wheelchair, his co-workers are all very kind and willing to help whenever he's in need. This is undoubtedly due to Kyle's likability. Despite the limitations of the wheelchair, Kyle lived each day happily and fulfilled. Time flew by, and my younger sister Anna, who is 8 years my junior, got engaged. I'm genuinely happy for Anna finding her happiness. Kyle's joy was immense. He has watched Anna grow since she was in elementary school, and he adores her like his real sister. He cried tears of joy when he heard about her engagement. Anna, who lost her parents when she was young, respects Kyle as if he's a father figure or a brother, and enthusiastically shares news about her fiancé and her life with him. Seeing their heartwarming interaction, I was reminiscing about the past and cherishing our current happiness. After losing our parents, I always felt that I had to protect Anna. It was Kyle who eased that burden. When we first met in high school and started dating, Kyle sensitively felt the weight I was carrying and shouldered half of it for me. He watched over Anna with me, always being considerate. On the other hand, when Kyle had an accident, it was Anna who supported me. If it weren't for the two of them, I would have fallen apart somewhere. Now, seeing those two happily chatting in front of me, I discreetly wiped away my tears and joined their conversation. Currently, Anna is living away from her hometown, so I only see her occasionally. But hearing that she will return home quite often for wedding preparations, we were very happy. It's always a joy to see her face now and then. In any case, both Kyle and I couldn't wait for the wedding 3 months away. In what felt like a blink of an eye, those 3 months passed and the wedding day arrived. In fact, Anna had made a request to Kyle for this day. Her request was for him to walk down the aisle with her as a stand-in for her father. At this unexpected proposal, Kyle looked up at me in surprise. Such an important role. Is it okay for me to accept it? Even in a wheelchair. Won't I inconvenience Anna? If Anna asked you, then it's okay. I understand you worry because you care about her. But if you're okay with it, please grant her a request. Hearing my response to his concerned question, he smiled and nodded, saying, "That makes sense." The solemn atmosphere of a cathedral-like wedding venue enveloped everyone. Attendees divided into the groom's and bride's side, eagerly waiting for the ceremony to begin. I sat in the bride's family section, nervously waiting for the moment. The chapel grew silent with the sound of the church bells. When the chapel doors opened, Anna, dressed as a bride, and Kyle, in his wheelchair, appeared with radiant faces against the bright sunlight. They slowly entered, adjusting their pace to Kyle's speed. The moment I saw the two of them, I couldn't hold back my tears. But to capture Anna's once-in-a-lifetime shining moment, I kept wiping away my tears and sending warm applause when I heard unbelievable words in my ear. Huh? What a pathetic escort! Who on earth invited him? The mocking, high-pitched voice echoed throughout the chapel. I doubted my ears, thinking that I had misheard, but it seemed that other attendees had heard it too, as an unpleasant murmur spread throughout the chapel. Who had said that? Turning towards the source of the voice, I saw a woman seated in the groom's family section, covering her mouth with a handkerchief, casting a disdainful glance at Kyle. It was the groom's mother. Between the gasps of the handkerchief, her twisted lips were slightly visible. Anna and Kyle must have heard it, but they resolutely continued walking, eventually reaching the altar. Kyle said to the groom with a firm look, "Please take care of Anna." The groom, feeling guilty about his mother's comment, closed his eyes briefly and then firmly grasped Anna's hand, nodding deeply at Kyle. The next moment, the choir's clear voices filled the chapel. The atmosphere, previously tense, was purified, the attendees regained their composure, and the ceremony proceeded without any further hitches. The groom, Sam Cannelly, came from a prestigious family, essentially an elite household. Sam's mother seemed to be quite displeased that her beloved son had brought home a woman who had grown up in an institution as his bride-to-be. She was not easily convinced and apparently showered Anna with thoughtless words. Sam eventually convinced his mother to approve the marriage. Although she begrudgingly allowed the marriage, it seemed that Sam's mother couldn't accept the uncle in the wheelchair who is in the cleaning business, referring to Kyle. "Why didn't you tell me beforehand? Such a disgraceful entrance. We invited some very important people to the ceremony today. I was so embarrassed that I couldn't help but speak out." "Mom, enough is enough. That was incredibly rude. Kyle is like a father to Anna. And why should I have told you in advance about Kyle walking the Virgin Road in a wheelchair? There is such a thing as propriety." Looking flustered, he sighed deeply and glared at his mother. "You're the one who's truly disgraceful. Don't ever disrespect the man who saved my life again." We had been watching the story unfold with bated breath and were stunned by the unexpected turn of events. The accident that caused Kyle to have his right leg amputated, the young boy he saved was actually Sam. As a child during the accident, Sam had seen Kyle get hit by a car while saving him and had run away in fear. That's why Kyle didn't know who the boy was. He had wanted to know if the boy was okay, but never investigated, fearing it might impose guilt. When Sam was discussing the entrance to the wedding with Anna, she said, "My sister's husband, Kyle, lives in a wheelchair, not because he was born with it, but because he saved a child who was about to have an accident." Upon hearing that story, it dawned on her that it might be the same man who once helped her. She did some research and confirmed her suspicion. I couldn't bring myself to tell you until now, which led to you hearing those unpleasant words from my mother. I don't know how to apologize. Kyle, thank you for helping me back then. If I had been run over that day, I wouldn't be alive now. But because of me, your future was taken away. I'm truly sorry. I understand that apologizing now isn't enough. Please let me make it up to you in the future. Sam came up to Kyle and me, and he thanked and apologized with tears and hung his head deeply. Then he said, "So, Mom, please apologize to Kyle right now. The reason Kyle is now in a wheelchair is because he saved me," he screamed sadly. Kyle approached the drooping Sam and gently placed his hand on his shoulder. "Don't beat yourself up so much. I've already accepted the fact that I have this leg, and I'm not dragging it with me. I'm rather relieved that the boy from back then is safely grown up. I know it must have been hard for you to say, and you must have had a lot of trouble. I'm sorry." Hearing Kyle's words, Sam finally broke down in tears. The actuality that you can't just say, "I'm sorry," and then you're not going to be able to make amends. I'm still happy, even with these legs, so don't worry about that and live your life looking forward. And please protect Anna for the rest of her life. Look, we're about to have a wedding reception, so don't cry anymore, or your eyes will swell up. Kyle laughed ridiculously and gently offered Sam a handkerchief. As I stepped back and watched, I was filled with a warm feeling, wondering if such a miraculous encounter could happen. How could the boy Kyle had saved that day marry Anna and become family? At that moment, Kyle looked straight at me. I knew that he was thinking the same thing behind that look, and I nodded with my thoughts. Kyle never blamed others for losing his own leg and not being able to grasp the dream he had been striving for. And he accepts his fate without rejecting it and lives brightly, looking firmly forward. I know how difficult that is. That is why I respect Kyle so much. And more than anything, Sam's confiding in him makes him feel that the sacrifice he made to save others at that time was not in vain. I never expected such a pleasant surprise on a sunny day at the height of my happiness. Kyle and I, who was cuddled up next to Sam, looked at each other and laughed at this miracle. Afterwards, Sam's mother also apologized profusely. She would not be able to say anything else now that he had saved her son's life, and her attitude towards Anna would soften. I had expected this, but Sam's mother had changed her mind more than I had expected. She seems to have changed her prejudice against people with disabilities and work, and is making efforts to be there for them, such as starting volunteer activities. She also said that she no longer snubbed her family background and became more humble. She was probably not a bad person to begin with. Sam and Anna have come to visit us often. The four of us have had a very difficult life so far, and life will continue in the future. No matter what happens, we want to build a good relationship with our siblings by getting along and cooperating with each other. Each of us took this feeling to heart, and we strengthened our bond with each other